Big hello to all of you in the CBMC network. I'm Andy Bannister, the director of Solas, the Centre for Public Christianity. This is my relatively new colleague, Gareth Black. We are so excited to be here in Belfast as we speak, doing some events and making some connections. Been great to meet Andy and Andrew from CBMC. For those of you who don't know Solas, we are a fairly young organisation passionate about two things. Passionate about evangelism, taking the gospel out of the four walls of the churches and into the public square, into universities and coffee shops and marketplaces and workplaces, and particularly helping train and equip Christians to talk naturally and confidently about that in the place that God has placed you. We're an organisation that's growing, and Gareth has just joined our team, and we're excited that he is based here in Northern Ireland. We're not an organisation that's about having some sort of central hub and bringing everybody to us. We are about getting out into the regions and the different nations of the United Kingdom, and so it's hugely important to us to be investing into places like Northern Ireland. So really glad that Gareth is here on the ground. Gareth, tell us a bit about what you're up to, what your passions are, and also about the connection we're making and the networking we're doing with the CBMC folks.
Thanks, Andy. Well, you'll be able to hear already from my accent that I'm a native of Northern Ireland, grew up here, became a Christian here. Recently have moved back just from Oxford, spending 5 years there doing some studies, but also training in evangelism and apologetics. And very excited to be back now in the province, working with Solas, building infrastructure to try and do good and effective evangelism for people in the 21st century, but also really equip Christians in how to do that themselves confidently. It's not about having specialists, it's about equipping people who are in those contexts, who are on the ground, to be able to have meaningful and effective and persuasive conversations about the hope of the gospel. A big part of that obviously is equipping people in business, and we've been really excited to speak to Andrew and Andy today about some of the opportunities that you guys have coming up in order to do that in your own context, and just really encourage you guys to see the gospel opportunities that there are at this time for where you are. People are still open to the gospel, and there's still opportunities if we can communicate it effectively, and we at Solas would love to play a little part in maybe helping you guys do that more effectively. So very excited about what might be coming up in the future.
And I think one of the very obvious connection points between Solas and what you folks are doing through the CBMC is both in terms of the equipping part, the helping equip Christians to be speaking naturally to their friends and colleagues, and the evangelism. In terms of equipping, I'm struck, for those of us who are Christians in the workplace is where we spend the majority of our time. We're going to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours across our adult life in our workplaces. And if as Christians we can overcome our fears, if we can learn sort of tools for natural conversations with those we spend Monday through Friday, 9 through 5, or whatever hours you work with, what an incredible opportunity for the gospel. I think it was Billy Graham, the great evangelist, once said, I have this sense that it's the workplace is going to be the greatest mission field for the gospel in the decades ahead. But then also in terms of evangelism, I'm increasingly struck, especially during these pandemic days, when people's confidence and hopes and dreams are being shaken and questioned. I think the workplace raises so many spiritual questions, and as Christians we can use those opportunities, and we love doing that at Solas. In fact, the day before I caught the ferry out here to Northern Ireland on this trip, I had the tremendous privilege of being invited by a group of Christians at the London Stock Exchange who've been meeting together and praying for a couple of years now, and they had a real heart spot on a mission week. In fact, they were going to do it in person, and then the pandemic hit, so they segued very quickly to Zoom, and they've had a whole week of events there, and they had about 40 people on the Zoom webinar they invited me to do. About a third of those were not Christians, and I took on the challenging topic of good God, bad world, ? Where is God in pain and suffering? And I spoke to that topic for about 25 minutes, and then we had Q&A, and I was so struck by the questions. They weren't hostile, boy, they were honest. There were some incredibly honest questions, and really excited to see people seeking and really reaching out. And afterwards had a phone call with one of the organisers who said already the feedback he got from one of his colleagues who's not a Christian, who said it is just so exciting to have a space where we can talk about spiritual questions in the workplace, and how excited she was to be looking forward to the other lunchtime events. And it just reminded me that God is at work in the workplace, and God loves the local church, but the local church is always designed to be reaching out and beyond itself. This is a real privilege to be working with CBMC, to be finding ways to work together, encourage one another, and may the Lord bless you. And wherever He's placed you, wherever He's planted you, I really pray that you would flower, you would bloom, and you would make an impact for the gospel.